Hello. In the lands to the west, there are verdant plains and riches beyond comprehension just waiting to be claimed. But there are also tribes of barbarians, Amazons, lizardmen, and beings altogether less humanoid, already in a state of constant war. Summoning the powers of the old gods, riding great leviathans, and swinging swords that are pretty massive, these battles are epic in scale, size, and imagination. I'm Jordan, this is Jordan Sorcery, and today we're entering a world entirely new. A world of barbarians, battles, and bloodshed. The world of Argatoria. I've been making YouTube videos for roughly a year now, and I have spent a lot of time looking at the games that have defined my hobby past. What have I been playing that has informed who I am today and shaped my very hobby itself? But I'm also an avid gamer who is constantly seeking out new and exciting and immersive experiences at the tabletop. And if they promise to bring epic sword and sorcery action as well, then that is even better. I am always looking to see what will define my hobby future. And that's why I was very excited when I was contacted by a company called Spellcrow, asking if I would be interested in looking at their latest fantasy wargame. Now, I had heard of Spellcrow before. I actually bought some of their terrain and basing kits for my Marienburg project, though I've not used them just yet. And I had admired some of their 28mm miniatures as well from afar. But I must admit that I hadn't really heard of or investigated their latest game, Argatoria. Thankfully, after spending some time with the game and really enjoying it, I was dead pleased when Spellcrow asked me if I would be willing to make a video covering what I had learned about the world and factions of the game. So that is what this is, my video covering all I have learned about this fascinating world of barbarians and the tribes that fight within it. Argatoria is a 10mm fantasy wargame that tells the stories of the tribes of this fantasy world. It is a place of savage beauty, filled with great beasts, high sorcery, old gods, and new enemies. The continent is named for a legendary leader, the warrior Argatoria, who tamed the implacable red dragon and united the human peoples against their most dire threat, the Morg, condemned and fanatical worshippers of the dark gods, who march in thrall of their dark emperor, searching for endless bloody conflict. Argatoria and her war host fought back the Morg and bought freedom with their blood, but in the ages since, those heroic acts have been all but forgotten. Once again, the people of Argatoria have become fractured, frenzied, and fratricidal. The tribes of both man and lizard kind war against each other and against themselves, and they have all become blind to the machinations of their oldest and cruelest enemy. In the Northlands, the Morg stir once again, swearing their pitch-black oaths, raising dead from their grave pits, bridling their war beasts, and communing with the abyss. There are 6 playable factions in Argatoria so far. 3 are drawn from the tribes of men, 2 are from the clans of the lizard folk, and the 6th, well, that is the Dark Morg, a wild and wonderful choice of very evil guys. There are some shared basic units between the different factions, but every single one of them has their own unique, diverse, and characterful roster of special choices. In ages past, a race of lizard folk were brought to the brink of extinction, but one noble house survived the many destructive wars, and their descendants have risen again, creating a thriving empire of would-be conquerors. These people, the Aurochs, extract untold riches from their verdant lands, and have erected colossal cities. To gaze upon the splendour of the Aurochians is to be overwhelmed and amazed by their brilliance and lustre. Now that they stand tall once again, these lizard folk raise their colourful war banners and march with one intent. They will bring about the era of the Aurochs. The front line of the Aurochs war host are built from units of highly regimented reptilian warriors, bipedal lizard folk who demonstrate iron discipline and slavish resolve. More dangerous than these primeval warriors, though, are the brutish and unwieldy Rapuchons, towering toad-like creatures that spit poison and fall mercilessly upon lesser foes in battle. The quick and agile Lagulians are the backbone of the Aurochs forces, smaller cousins of the Rapuchons, possessed of a great deal more grace, but no amount less ferocity. In the armies of the Aurochs, the Legulians are known as the Chosen, as they bring to bear their faith in Aurochian destiny, wielding it as a weapon that is just as dangerous as their spears. The Golden Guard are a unit of Rapuchian toadmen, clad in armour that is gilt in gold. This exceptional war gear serves to protect the Guard from massive damage, and honour the founding father of the Aurochs, a lizardman whose skin glistened gold like no other before or since. Other dangerous units in the Aurochian horde include the similarly golden-armoured Sanctified, the hulking Repsolians, and the charmingly grumpy-looking living catapult, the Foregone, a languorous beast that can fire deadly globules of spit into panicking enemies. The Aurochs are commanded by champions of the sun, of nature, and of the gods, and through their sun-seers and reborn mystics, they draw power from their deities. The Aurochian general, the Sox Augetir, is often the most faithful in the Aurochs' ranks, a being truly convinced of the manifest destiny of their people. The plains of Argatoria are replete with wildlife, great beasts and ferocious predators, and living amongst them are the tribe of humans called the Durandis. Known as the wolves that wander the lands of sorrow, these people are not savages. Instead, they place great store in the balance of the world and the laws of the old gods. Any person who would ignore these laws, be they lizard or man, will feel the wrath of the unbending Durandis. Led by the great hunter, a general possessed of incredible foresight and guided by fortune-tellers, the Durandis army is like a wild animal that is difficult to tame. Their champions of fire, ice, and storm bring the magic of their old gods to war. The Barbarians and Amazons of the Durandis take to the field clothed in pelts and animal hides, and with skin painted and tattooed in deep and vibrant blue. Each mark and symbol represents the endurance and resilience of the Durandis people in the face of countless hardships. There are wild men who shun civilized settlements and make their home in the open land, but when the Durandis go to war, these wolf brothers join them. They carry their runes of magic, marks that imbue their weapons with the rage of the gods. The Devoted, a race of half-giant, have rallied to the Durandis cause as well, bringing their great height and mighty strength to bear with crushing blows and unstoppable charges. On the battlefield, the Durandis can count not just on human muscle and worked steel though, they call on tooth and claw as well. Dangerous predators like the Willars and the courageous Gridon mounts attack with unimaginable fury, and even the rarely seen mountain folk, the extraordinarily strong Sasquatch, are counted amongst the allies of the Durandis. And when the largest and most impressive hordes come together, it is not unusual to see the enormous Elephanton, mammoth beasts of burden that terrify and trample enemies. Descended from warrior priests and friends to the dangerous predators of the Argatorian plains, the Durandis have faith in one thing above all others, that the old gods will bring them victory. But the Durandis are not the only tribe with connections to the land. To the east of the Tauric Mountains, in the southern part of the Beast's Wasteland, there is a forest of intricate pathways, vertiginous ravines, abundant growth, and wise, ancient trees. Amongst the roots and mammoth trunks of this endless Agaloch forest, the land of the living trees, you will find the tribe of the Gaeldor, a people at once peaceful and in harmony with nature, whilst also ever ready to don their green war paint, summon their wild companions, and take to the battlefield to punish those who would disrespect the land. Led by druids, beastmasters, and great forest champions, the Gaeldor go to war not to claim land or to expand an empire, but to keep safe the living world that they call home. Amazonian spider riders have harnessed their relationship with the enormous venom-spewing arachnids of the forest, rapidly charging into the enemy to wreak havoc and spread death. Barbarian beast hunters are flanked by half-giant iron oaks, and by their side march a sight nearly impossible to comprehend, for the very forest seems to have sprouted legs and raised blades in its defence. The Odin are a secret race of tree men, unseen on the plains of Argatoria before now. They have allied with the Gaeldor in these desperate times. Somehow stranger still are the other allies of the Gaeldor, The Vorakhu, a race of graceful and aggressive birdmen. These brave and loyal avian troops make for deadly flankers, and once they engage their enemies, their attacks are almost unceasing. Supporting these powerful warriors are the beasts of the Great Forest, wild creatures stirred into a frenzy to protect their home. The Leviathan-like Myrmidons stomp through enemy ranks, but it is the Great Forest Dragon that the foes of the Geldor fear the most. This king of the wild is a majestic and fearsome sight, the last that many foolish warriors will ever see. The Geldor are known to many as the Shadow Walkers, because they strike swiftly and unseen, before returning to the undergrowth of the Agaloth forest, safe in the knowledge that those who would encroach on this peaceful place have been turned back for another day. There are few enemies in Argatoria that you would want less than the Sorgax, a mysterious people that hail from the underground cities of northern Reptos. The Sorgax share their secrets with no one and keep only their own counsel, and any who seek trade or communication with them are met only with silence, or worse. The Sorgax are the guardians of the water temples, in service of some higher master said to feed only on pain. To what end they are working is a mystery, so inexplicable are their intentions and their actions. Whatever their agenda may be, it is clear that the armies of the Sorgax, the self-proclaimed children of the stars, are rightly to be feared. Unlike their elite cousins in the Aurochs army, the Sorgax field more basic reptilian troops, though they are still savage in combat, earning them the title Tormentors. The Scourges are spear-wielding and stealthy warbands of Legulians, whilst units of Repsolians, the bulkier and stronger kin of the Reptilians, carry mighty weapons like the Star of Doom. And of course, the toad-like Rapuchons have also joined Sorgaxian hordes in search of battle and victory. Rapid, snake-like Slaygors propel themselves across the battlefield at speed, closing distance with the enemy in mere moments, and taking many by surprise. The dangerous four-armed martyrs of Vorodan have been banished from their homelands, and whether through choice or enslavement, now fight for the Sorgax cause. There are also the Scalivar cavalry. Mounted on these fast-moving lizard beasts, the Crushers are seasoned Sorgaxian fighters, equipped with heavy armor and even heavier warhammers. And if you are terribly unlucky, you may even face Disauros, great hulking beasts with tomb altars strapped to their backs, walking shrines to the Sorgaxian gods. At the head of the Sorgax army, you will find great warrior generals possessed of incredible power, able to penetrate the mind and hearts of their enemies. They are joined by champions of night, death, and wrath, as well as mysterious heroes like the tomb priests and underworld guardians, who call upon magical aid through their celestial prayers. When the Sorgax choose to fight, it is in pursuit of an unfathomable design. One of the largest and most powerful tribes of humans are the Vendral, a race that put no heed in the words of fickle gods and intangible spirits. They believe in the power and strength of steel and the warriors who wield it. In the settlements of the Vendral, one does not find shrines, churches, or halls of worship to the gods. No, the only temples that the Vendral raise are those in celebration of blood. Great feasts are prepared and games are held in search of the strongest, most deadly, and least merciful champions. The leaders of the Vendral are these champions of blood and earth and darkness, and they call upon the sorcerous powers of the priestesses of lust and the old hags who have lived a lifetime of blood and war. The generals of the Vendral prove themselves on the battlefield and in the temple, emerging from the deadly games as the most bloody of chieftains. As with the god-fearing Durandis, the god-slaying Vendral call upon great hordes of barbarians, Amazons, and half-giant warriors when they march to war. Every member of the Vendral horde is a born warrior, eager to court death in bloody battle. Oftentimes, the warriors that have the honour of drawing first blood are the Ravagers, the strongest and toughest barbarians, who have proved themselves in countless conflicts and earned the right to ride into battle atop Sungals, huge horned mounts with skin as hard as rock and breath as bad as dung. When the great war horns sound and the largest war hosts gather, the Vendral may even call upon warriors from the villages shunned in more peaceful times. These Sosruits are ritualistic cannibals, worshippers of the dark gods, but not yet fully aligned with the darkness. Instead, they still fight alongside their Vendral cousins, calling on the god of slaughter to bless their efforts. Other similarly unpalatable allies of the Vendral come in the form of the Vutars, many-eyed hairy trolls whose keen senses and cruel malice make them excellent and brutal trappers. And then there are the White Witches, Amazons with supernatural powers to curse their enemies and protect their friends. The Vendral are the sons and daughters of the Great Harlot, and they travel the lands as often in search of pleasure as of war. But when they raise their crimson banners, sharpen their steel, and summon their battle frenzy, you may want to say a final prayer to your gods before the Vendral drag them from the heavens. The final army for Argatoria is the newest to the field, though it represents one of the oldest threats to the people of this world. These are the forces of darkness. These are the Sheol Morg. Hailing from lands shrouded in perpetual shadow, the Sheol Morg have embraced the darkness and have committed themselves to the glory of the dark gods. All the peoples of Argatoria tremble when the Sheol Morg draw close, and with good reason. The great menageries of the Sheol Morg can take many forms, often moulded in the image of their horrifying leaders. Some armies are led by lords of the abyss, champions of hate and contempt, who seek glory and destruction above all else. Their armies are composed of steel-clad, horn-helmed warriors who enter frenzies of dark devotion and bloodlust in battle. Other Sheol Morg follow the Lord Necromancers, inscrutable and unruly sorcerers who play with the power of life and death, leading armies of the undead on raids far and wide, often in search of magical secrets, artifacts, and knowledge to supplement their already considerable power. The third form of Dark Army are those led by the Lords of Sheol Morg. These are the most relentless, aggressive, and devoted champions of the Dark Gods. Gifted powers by their Stygian deities, and the trust of the Emperor of the Sheol Morg, these lords command legions of ritual guardians, the truly devout warriors of darkness, who, if ordered, would slay each other as quickly as they would their enemies. Across all armies of the Sheol Morg, there are a great many terrible and horrifying threats that no sane warrior, even a mighty chieftain or general, would wish to fight. The Dark Fawns are a fallen people, goat-headed humans raised in suffering and filled with rage. The relentless Trulak skeletons are the reanimated bones of deceased enemies, and in some cases even mounted on undead wolves that feast on their defeated foes. Hydras and hulking great minotaurs march into battle alongside grotesquely mutated and almost demonic hybrids. Silent and possessed of dark and malevolent auras are the Black Knights, heavily armoured cavalry that ride horned mounts as black as the void. And the champions of the Sheol Morg come in just as many cruel and twisted forms. Champions of the hordes, of Gehenna, and of the dark gods are joined by cursors and warlocks who manifest the energies of darkness as murderous magics. Now that the Sheol Morg are once again roaming the lands, no tribe is safe. In ages past, it took a leader of unparalleled will and power to unite the free peoples in opposition of their darkness. But there may no longer be such a champion, and the tribes of barbarians, Amazons, lizard folk, and others are constantly at war with one another. It may not be long before the lands of Argatoria are again shrouded in darkness and bathed in blood. I have really enjoyed spending time in the world of Argatoria and with these genuinely lovely miniatures that Spellcrow have made. They say in the book that they are inspired by Robert E. Howard's Conan and the work of Frank Frazetta, and you can absolutely see those kinds of influences brought to vibrant life in every piece of art and every hand-sculpted miniature that has been released so far. Spellcrow have begun publishing Purple Warlock, a magazine that supports their games and is packed to the brim with new rules, news, behind-the-scenes studio pics, community reports, and other insightful content. The second issue came with a blister of exclusive Sheol Morg champion miniatures as well. Issue 3 just went up for pre-order and it features an exclusive Gnomish Engineer miniature, a stack of scenarios, new terrain rules, and some short fiction from the world of Argatoria. And Argatoria actually shares that world with Spellcrow's other fantasy game, Umbra Turris. That is a 28mm skirmish game that features hobgoblins, scarecrows, dwarves, orcs, and loads of other stuff, as well as some races that have already made their way onto the Argatorian battlefield as well. If you want to find out more about the world of Argatoria and the ranges that have been released for Argatoria and Umbra Turris, I have linked the Spellcrow website in the description below, where you've got all of the ranges available, all of the miniatures, all of the books, terrain, loads of cool stuff. I hope that you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about this fantasy world and this new game. I have been really impressed with what I've seen from Spellcrow so far. I think this is a world that is really fun. It's a great place to tell cool barbarian stories. And I think that the miniatures actually are amazing. Really, really impressive. And a starter army box is about £45. So it's not too expensive to give it a quick go. But if you're really just interested in finding out more, it's only £2 for the PDF of the core rules from the website. So that's probably the ideal place to start if you want to find out even more. Thank you so much, Spellcrow, for sponsoring this video. Thank you very much for watching. I am Jordan, and this is Jordan's Sorcery. Given that this beast knows no master, I can't collect Gaeldor, but I did wonder if the dark gods of Shale Morg might be able to grant me enough power to tell Martha what to do. Nah, I don't think even they are that powerful.